Hello stream, only a few more of these to go. So this particular talk will cover the PC Gaming Conference and the Sony Conference. Probably won't take as long as the last couple, judging by how much content was in both pressers, but I wanted to get this done and out of the way before the Nintendo presser comes on in like an hour. And I'll probably do my talk on the Nintendo presser with my bro James. We'll do that later tonight during my normal Splatoon playtime, I guess. So let's kind of hop right in, starting with the PC Gaming Conference. So it's worth bringing up, but with the PC Gaming Conference is always kind of off to the side when it comes to E3. It's more a place for middle developers, mid-sized developers, indie devs to kind of take up a spot on what felt like was like 2 hours worth of time that they had to burn through. Um, so usually what ends up happening is you get those handful of developers, and then someone like Acer, AMD, they'll show up and show some fancy new hardware that they have, which was pretty much it, but I wasn't paying attention much to the hardware, and I skipped past a good bit of the press conference. Just kind of wanted to note the most interesting topics to bring up. So for those who have never seen it, Day 9, Sean Plott usually hosts the event. It's usually just bang, bang, bang. They'll do a trailer, a couch interview for a bit. There wasn't no couch this time. I was a little depressed. It was just everyone had to stand for the whole time. And they'll do quick talks, 5-10 minutes on each game, move on to the next game. Pretty simple stuff. But like I said, it always kind of feels a little out there. Not really out there, just out of the way. It's never really covering often. There's rare that there's big announcements made at it, but there were some notable announcements made at this one this year. This was probably one of the bigger ones that they've done. Anyway, start off. I'm just gonna note games that I saw that looked kind of interesting, unique, that for some reason either I'd get or someone that I think might be really interested in. So we'll start off. Oh yeah, I'm gonna skip over a bunch of games. Just want to cover the ones that were notable. Starting off, go with NeoCab. So it this game had a like really unique art style, which drew my attention, but it seems kind of very visual novel feeling to me, where you're like the last cab driver in the world, like actual human cab driver in this futuristic society, trying to find this friend of yours who's apparently in trouble, and you're avoiding the cops. There really wasn't too much to pick off of outside the fact that it had this really unique graphical style. But I'm gonna keep my own eye on it because I was kind of interested in it. Next, we'll talk about Maverick's Proving Grounds. So this is a battle royale game. Like, first, I actually have like 2 notes that it's battle royale. They didn't show any gameplay on it, but the big thing they're hyping on it is that they're talking like 1,000 players in a single game. That's a lot of people to put into a single game. That might as well just be an MMO battle royale, I guess. I don't know how they're gonna pull it off. We've seen how buggy a lot of battle royales can get. The space that they're gonna use is going to be just absurdly large. Good luck. It's going in the beta. It's a battle royale. Didn't really seem to be anything unique about it outside the ginormous size of the players that they were going to go. There was a trailer for Hunt Showdown from Crytek. Crytek's always notable because they're one of the developers that's on the leading edge of graphics, just high-end graphics for gaming. I believe they were at E3 last year. Can't really recall, but they were there. They showed off that game. I'm not really gonna say much on it. Warframe devs were there. They showed off. Well, they didn't really show off. They talked about the new DLC they have coming. There's gonna be more revealed on that at TennoCon, which is their big annual event. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and watch that whenever that comes up. I think it comes up in July sometime. I don't have an exact date. The next big announcement, this one was more interesting to me because I actually have some stuff to talk about on this one. Sega had a bunch of trailers for a bunch of games they're coming out with on PC. So anytime I talk about Sega, I have to inherently rant about the lack of PSO2 in America, despite the fact that they announced that PSO2 was going to come stateside, and it has not come stateside yet. And it is not actually ever going to come stateside, so people shouldn't get their hopes on that. If you want to play PSO2, you have to download the Japanese version, and I hope the people who are doing the English patch to that are still doing the English patch to that. They're usually pretty quick on keeping that up to date. And, geez, I wish my notes would just stay open. So, Sega had a whole bunch of announcements to make. Shenmue 1 and 2 are coming to Steam, along with Shining Resonance, a couple of Yakuza games, and Valkyria Chronicles 4. So, this theme of Japanese games coming out to PC is not new. It's something that's been going on for the past year or two. I don't want to say Sega was the first, but they were one of the first bunch of developers that was porting games to PC. But we're talking games that had been out for a while. Shining Resonance and Valkyria Chronicles 4 are new games coming out. I mean, even though Shining Resonance is a port remaster, whatever you want to call it, these are new releases that are coming out same day for PC on Steam. This is kind of new, and I can kind of explain why it's new. And that this is something that we're probably going to see happen more often from Japanese developers. To kind of explain why it hasn't happened before, Japanese developers are more, historically, going back to all the way up to PS2 and some PS3, more just PS2, up until the PS2 days. Pretty much every single Japanese developer came from an arcade gaming design background. So they more or less had a set of hardware that they had been developing on, be it coming from usually either Sega. I don't really know if Sony had an arcade hardware set. The only one I really know is Sega. Sega was big into arcade hardware sets. Most of their consoles came from arcade hardware sets. But gaming was typically done from a background of designing an arcade game. And in case you don't know, arcades are still big in Japan. There's a lot of game design done on arcades. Whereas in pretty much everywhere else in the world, except maybe China, but definitely in the US and Europe, game design is done on a PC environment. So games are built up from the ground up in the US and Europe on PC, while in Japan it was more common to see them built from the ground up on arcade software. Since PS2 era, that has changed. And you could see issues with this if you look at the JRPGs that came up during the PS3 era in particular, and even still today in the PS4 era, that all those Japanese devs that had been developing RPGs just threw them out on the truckload in the PS2 era. all those games came out on 3DS during this time, and if they came out, or DS, 3DS, Vita, PSP, they were all on handhelds. And all the ones that you saw come out on PS3, oh man, they were so bad. There were just so few good JRPGs that came out on the PS3. It was a rough time. It's a rough time for people who like JRPGs. But as we've moved on, a lot of these developers, and you can also see it with Nintendo in the Wii U era, they had to learn how to develop on PCs with high definition graphics, and this took time for them. It took a lot of time for them to pick up and understand and learn how to develop. And I think we've gotten to a point where they're pretty good at it. But what this means in the long run is that their games are much easier to port on the PCs. So we're going to see more announcements like this with Japanese games being released on PC day one. So if you're a PC gamer and you like your JRPGs, this is good for you. No doubt. I do warn you, these games on PC tend to be like super buggy. Just as Squaresoft and anything that Square Enix, anything that they've thrown on the PC, it's been a nightmare for them to get their games fixed and polished up for actual release. Of course, it helps when you're not using a Chinese studio to port your game over lazily. If you're wondering what I'm talking about, check out Chrono Trigger. That game's a nightmare on PC right now. Anyway, we'll move on to the next topic now that we've beaten that to death. We're still apparently getting theme park games these days, theme park management games. The next one is Jurassic Park Evolution. Yes, you get to make your own Jurassic Park. There will be Jeff Goldblum's. I mean, I don't know how you could go wrong with this game. The Jurassic Park theme park game with Jeff Goldblum. I can't go wrong. Now, I'm not sure whether they said it was coming out soon or what, but I'm actually gonna keep my eye on. I don't think I'll pick it up, but it's just one of those things you have to see to believe is happening. Next game on my list, Sable. So this is another one of those games that's artistic style, kind of just blew me away and took my interest instantly. It was just such an interesting art style. They said they were heavily inspired by Belgian and French comic books, along with Studio Ghibli works. I kind of saw that. I just kind of thought it looked like a Japanese anime storyboard, like really early work on a storyboard, and it looked beautiful. I thought it just looked really interesting to me. Anyway, it's supposed to be an exploration themed game, desert environment. So like James had told me, this game looks like Journey. So I'm like, okay, you got me. Definitely gonna look at it. Probably gonna pick it up and see what it looks like. But something you should have your eyes on too. Apparently, Star Citizen was there. I saw a trailer. I still don't think Star Citizen is an actual game, which is a meme, and is a well-earned meme. Let's see. Don't Starve Hamlet. I know that's a game people were looking out for, I believe. Top-down game. I really don't know what that was about, but I know it's a game people were interested in. Okay, how do I pronounce this? I've seen this game before, so Noita? Noita. I don't know what they call it. But anyway, this is a game, I believe I've seen it on Kickstarter. So it's an indie dev project. They're calling it a roguelike Metroidvania that's procedurally generated. I know people hear procedurally generated and they're like, oh, this game's garbage. They can't design their own crap. But I don't think that. I think replay value anytime I hear procedurally generated, if it's done right. Sometimes it's garbage, I give you that, but I see replay value. Just look at Dead Cells. I see replay value. Anyway, so it's a roguelike Metroidvania style game. Your abilities heavily impact the game's environment. The environment's just like super responsive to whatever you do. So it's something to keep an eye out. You could kind of tell that Dead Cells was sort of a theme they were pulling upon in terms of just a game you can have endless replay value on and just keep playing over and over again. But yeah, that's something to keep an eye on. I don't know how the Kickstarter ever actually went. I feel like the Kickstarter failed. But yeah, that's all I got. I want to talk about 2 Point Hospital only because it showed how much of a pro Day 9 is. The mics on the people who came out to talk about that game were dead or were completely impacted by the fact they were wearing stethoscopes because they were into their characters. And Day 9 had them talking into the mic on his tie. That is how much of a pro this man is. He is a treasure, and we should adore him. Realm Royale was there. For those who don't know, Realm Royale is actually... we joke about everyone trying to be the next Battle Royale game. This appears to actually be the next Battle Royale game. It kind of blew up on Steam a couple days ago. I believe it has surpassed PUBG. I doubt it has surpassed Fortnite. But, it's more a class-based, crafting style Battle Royale. It is free to play, so if you're interested in it, you can pick it up and try it out. If in my mind, the way I view it, if you don't like the hardcore seriousness of PUBG, if you don't like the building style of Fortnite, maybe you should try out this game, Realm Royale. I'm gonna keep my eye on it. I'm probably gonna download it and see if any of my friends want to try it out. They probably won't, but we'll see. And then the PC Gaming Conference ended. They showed off Hitman 2, which I was surprised. I figured that would be in the Square Enix presser, but they showed off Hitman 2. I mean, it's the Hitman you know and love. Really, not much else to say. That has a release date for November, so yeah, it's Hitman. You're gonna make disguises and assassinate people. Simple stuff. So that was the end of the PC Gaming Conference. Honestly, despite kind of me just going through it one by one and not saying too much, it was probably one of the better PC gaming conferences they've had. Normally, I think it's kind of a bore, but they actually had some announcements to make. Probably the most notable thing to come out of it was Sega's deep dive into PC gaming. They've been releasing games for PC for a while now, and this was basically an announcement that if a game comes out from Sega, I would expect it to be on PC. That's just the way it's going to be from here on out. Other than that, there really isn't too much to talk about. Just small, mid-sized devs showing their goods. I'm not even going to assign it a rating. It's just everyone gets together and does their own little trade show. Bit. Okay. So, with that, I'm going to move on to Sony. And we're going to start off by complaining that this press conference started in what looked to be my high school auditorium. We're going to complain about this a lot later. But, let's just go straight to the game. So the first thing they showed off was Last of Us Part 2. They devoted most of the press conference to Last of Us Part 2. Um, I'm glad the way they showed it off because just in terms of gameplay, because it totally reminded me of how they first. What the hell was that game? Okay. Um, it reminded me of when they first announced the original Last of Us, and how that was probably the biggest trailer, the gameplay trailer I had ever seen for a game. The when that trailer was shown off, there was about 6 of us at my house at the time, and we were all just actually just playing Magic or Warhammer, one of the two, and we were kind of barely paying attention to that. When that trailer came on, our eyes were glued to it. And that was kind of the same way I felt with this trailer for part 2. Probably not as much to a degree because I know what Last of Us is about now. But it always impresses me with Naughty Dog in particular, just how interactive the characters are with the world that they are in. When I first played Last of Us, probably the most shocking thing to me was all you had to do for your character to go into cover was to walk up to a wall. And your character would put their hand on the wall, they would crouch down, and they would make it sound like they're trying to listen to what's going on the other side of the wall. It's just such an impressive interaction between character models and the environment. And that's not even talking about just how immersive that game is. And I was thoroughly blown away by Last of Us Part 2's gameplay trailer. I am 100% going to get it. You should too. In Naughty Dog we trust. Naughty Dog is just blows me away with all of their games and how far they are ahead of everybody else in immersing the characters they create into their environment and how that drags you as the player into the game. There's really nothing else to say. Just watch the trailer and be utterly impressed. Like, there was a point in the trailer where the main character, Ellie, she gets grabbed by one of the enemies and thrown over a table. And you see the bottles and the glass on that table shatter. And she rolls off the table and onto the ground on the other side. It's these little details like that that always blow me away with Last of Us and Naughty Dog games. So, yes, I am without a doubt going to buy this game, and I'm going to love it. Notable things about the game, outside the Last of Us, there isn't too much to note. Definitely more of a focus on melee combat. I kind of picked that up, which makes sense for the game because one of the themes of the game is that you're always scavenging for things, so you don't always have ammo for your gun. You don't always have arrows for your bow. So you have to rely on being able to use your resources as efficiently as possible. So being able to take things out with melee combat, or as they did in Last of Us Part 1 with a shiv, was always kind of important. So, yeah, I definitely noticed an increased focus on melee combat. But, yeah, that's enough to say of Last of Us Part 2. I'm going to get the game, I'm going to be blown away by the game, and I'm going to love it, and so will you. So you should buy every Naughty Dog game that ever comes out, even if it's just a remaster. Alright, so now I get to be angry. Now I get to be angry. So after they showed Last of Us Part 2 in this auditorium, which the reason why they did it was because the place that they were showcasing it was a recreation of a scene that's actually in the game. That's why they did that. But So after they showed it, they kicked everyone out of this place where they showed Last of Us Part 2 and moved them into an actual theater. And now I have a headache. Now I have a headache. And they had a, quote, intermission that was like 20 minutes while they moved all the reporters from one place into another. Please don't do this. Please don't do this, people. If you have a presentation, don't pick up all the people you're presenting to and move them somewhere else. Keep them all in one place so they all don't have to pick up their laptops. Go somewhere else to make their reporting. This was bad. This was really bad. And to make things worse, they kicked the actual, online viewers. They kicked it outside, then continued to make smaller announcements. And I was really upset. I was really discouraged. It was really upsetting. Oh, God. So while they were moving everyone over, they had a couple of announcements to make. God of War, the new God of War game is getting a new game plus. Yay. I actually haven't bought it yet, and I feel bad about that. Waiting for it to go on sale. They talked about the new Call of Duty Black Ops 4. And they didn't really talk about it, actually. They just said it exists. I'm really shocked we did not get a trailer for the new Call of Duty. I've been watching E3s for a long time, and I'm used to both the Sony and Microsoft pressers having a Call of Duty trailer, and it just throws me off when I don't get to see one. But the kind of big announcement they had related to that was Black Ops 3. If you have PSN Plus, Black Ops 3 is now on PSN Plus. So you can pick that up, kind of get used to the class system that they're going to have for Black Ops 4. But you should know they're not going to have jetpacks in Black Ops 4 because everyone freaking hated the jetpacks. They just could not get the controls right on these jetpacks. They were not Titanfall. So, yeah, I installed it back on my PS4. I'm going to try to convince some of my friends to maybe play it instead of Overwatch all the time. And we'll see how that goes. My guess is no. So, next part, while they were still trying to seat everybody, they showed off a new mini trailer for the Destiny expansion Forsaken coming out. I've spilt a lot of ink on, well, not ink, verbal ink on Destiny 2 and my thoughts on that. I'm not gonna buy the Destiny 2 expansion. I've spent $85 on Destiny 2 as it is, and I'm expected to spend another $40 on this expansion and $30 on the season pass to play a game that is still failing. You can't expect your user base to do that, and I think Activision and Bungie are in for a rude awakening this September when this expansion does not sell at all. It just will not sell. And from there, in the following months, I completely expect, based on what's been going on at Bungie. So Bungie signed a new publishing agreement with NetEase, the basically only Chinese publisher, distributor. This deal with Activision has soured greatly for both sides, for Activision and Bungie. It's funny for Bungie because one of the reasons they got out of the deal with Microsoft and the deal with Halo was so that they could they weren't under the thumb of Microsoft. So they then proceeded to go under the thumb of Activision, and it has not worked out for them. You can tell that they're not happy. You can tell Activision's not happy with the response to Destiny 2. So I think both of them are just going to part separate ways, and the Destiny franchise is going to go to a new developer under Activision. That's just my 2 bits. I don't know what else to say. I don't expect this expansion to sell well. I expect them to continue to have problems with Destiny 2 because they have failed to understand that they actually have to develop content, and that they don't have the ability to actually develop content. Anyway, moving on. So now they have a quote. This was actually said while they were all trying to move everyone inside. Time for the actual press conference. I'm cringing here. It took them 20-25 minutes to get everyone inside, and they just left everyone standing around. Ugh, God. So they started off showing Ghost of Tsushima. From Sucker Punch Games, the makers of all the infamous games, I believe. They went right to. They just showed a gameplay trailer, which was the theme. They just went straight to the gameplay trailer. Game looked good. Rather than being a hyper-realistic samurai game, they seem to be going more for the samurai film style. And I think that's better suited for an entertainment product, in my opinion. Combat looked... It was interesting. Gameplay looked like they were pulling a good bit of Naughty Dog out in terms of environment interaction, movement. There was like stealth kills. I give them points. They didn't have an interface. Like that entire gameplay trailer, there was no user interface. That's actually really sick. I always enjoy that. I usually play with interface on, but anytime you can have that artistic style where you don't have an interface, it's actually pretty beautiful. In terms of combat and the way the gameplay looked, it was interesting because there was a lot of ways they could go about it. But it kind of felt like they were pulling more from For Honor, where you're guarding like sides, positions, parries, counters, rather than being more like Assassin's Creed, where you jump from one target to the next. It seemed more of a stylish style. I don't really know. But if I had to say the combat it looked more like, I would definitely go with For Honor. But that demo actually got a really good crowd reaction. I was kind of surprised by that. But yeah, that was that. Next game they showed was from Remedy Games, which was a studio I haven't heard about in forever. And they showed Control, which was this kind of crazy psychedelic style game. It seemed like it was a shooter, I think, maybe. But I jokingly called in chat that gun was a force gun, like Star Wars force gun. It just blew everything up and it didn't shoot bullets or anything. I'm keeping my eye on that because that game looks crazy. Comes out in 2019. I'm just gonna keep my eye on it. Next part of the showcase, Resident Evil 2 remake. I don't know how long this one has been in the tank. It's been rumored for so long. But yes, we got to see Leon Kennedy again. Because Leon Kennedy will save us. My thoughts on what I saw. I thought they showed a brief, very, very brief bit of gameplay in there and not just a cut and dry trailer. But if I was right, and there was a little bit of gameplay in it, this looked like they were going to remake it to be an over-the-shoulder, like Resident Evil 4 style game. Not even pulling from the most recent Resident Evil game, but kind of be a over-the-shoulder style Resident Evil 4. Which, I mean, not a bad thing. Resident Evil 4 is generally considered to be one of the best Resident Evils ever. but it's just a thought because I know a lot of people who are big fans of Resident Evil actually just didn't like 4, or just haters for some reason. So I'm not a big Resident Evil fan, but I know a lot of people are, and it was pretty hype. It was a Rick and Morty style VR game they came up next with. Trevor Saves the Universe. I don't know. I don't really know what else to say about that. We got our third Kingdom Hearts trailer. Yeah, that's right. A third Kingdom Hearts trailer. This one was actually new, though. So, maybe Square Enix should have showed it in their own damn presser. Well, anyway, Johnny Depp made a showcase. Actually, this was the best looking Kingdom Hearts 3 trailer that they've shown yet. It was definitely the best they've shown. Actually had me almost interested in the game, but I'm not going to get it because I'm not going to get Kingdom Hearts games anymore. Probably the most notable announcement that they had during this was they're going to release an all-in-one package because they've released so many different Kingdom Hearts games since Kingdom Hearts 2. I didn't really clearly see what exactly was going to be in it. It looked like it was going to be the HD remasters of the 1 and 2. I don't know what else is going to be in there, but they're going to have those remasters along with Kingdom Hearts 3 in an all-in-one package. There wasn't much else said about that, but that's going to be exclusively for PS4. If you're just getting back into Kingdom Hearts 3, I would think that's what you want to get, because they've added so much crap into Kingdom Hearts, I don't even know where they stand anymore. Next, oh, Kojima. So they showed a trailer for Death Stranding. Clearly this one actually had gameplay, and I started to kind of pick apart myself what I think this game is going to somewhat-ish be about. So based on the gameplay that they were showing, I kind of drew a handful of things in my mind. First, you get to make your own avatar. I know Norman Reedus' avatar is probably the main character of the game, but I think you get to make your own avatar based on characters that they had in the gameplay trailer. It seems like a theme of the game is that you, the character, are actually just delivering shit. That actually seemed to be a significant part of the game, was just delivering things and traversing this environment without falling into whatever the hell the enemies of this game are. It also seemed to me that there's a big theme with time that comes across quite often in all of these trailers. That when you get caught, there's I believe they said time void. So yeah, I don't know what else to say. It's a Hideo Kojima game. I'm not even sure it's going to come out in the next year, but yeah, the more we hear about Hideo Kojima games, the more questions we all end up with. One second.
No, I'm not. I'm doing something else right now.
So yeah, that was Death Stranding. I don't know what else to say. Hideo Kojima trying to drive everyone crazy. So what was next? Ooh, so Team Ninja showed up with a title, and this was probably out of all the surprises at E3, probably this and Devil May Cry are probably my two biggest surprises. Neo 2, Neo 2, very well-regarded samurai-themed Dark Souls style game. There wasn't really anything shown besides like a teaser trailer for it, but I think there's good reason to be interested in this game, especially if they build upon what they did with the first Neo. Yeah, that's really nothing else to say. So, the presser ended. Yes, ended. All we've talked about here, they went straight to the ending on this one. With their Spider-Man game. I'm not too interested in it myself, but I know Sony indefinitely is. They've been hyping this game for the longest time and seem to think it's going to move a lot of copies, which they're probably not wrong, but it's just surprising because usually these franchises that come to consoles rather than being developed on consoles tend to be kind of mediocre. Sony's trying to change that with this game, obviously, and based on what I saw, they seem to be doing a pretty good job. One of the biggest issues with Spider-Man games was always just kind of getting the movement down, because I mean, if you go through the comics, you go through the film, Spider-Man always had really interesting movement and action scenes. And it seemed to be that was a big focus on the trailer. Not so much the combat, but just the movement. If you're interested, I can see why you're hyped for it. I think it's going to be like a Sinister Six story based on where they were going, but we'll see. But yeah, that was how they ended it with Spider-Man. I was a little surprised. I expected a little more third-party stuff, but they stuck straight with first-party stuff. I guess I'll go to my kind of ending take on everything. I applaud Sony for sticking almost entirely with first-party stuff that's going to be exclusive or have exclusive content on their system. So, like, the only multi-platform thing during their vol actual presser was Kingdom Hearts 3, and they showed that they were going to exclusively have that all in one package. This is a good way for me to say that they're trying to build reasons to get a PS4. If you want these games, get a PS4. It's that simple, and if you're interested in any of those games, you have to get a PS4 to play them. As opposed to having third-party guys come and show all their third-party multi-platform titles. I mean, from a content side, I was happy with what I saw. There was a handful of surprises. They showed a lot of gameplay footage for titles that I'm interested in. And yeah, I have a PS4, so I'm probably gonna buy a bunch of those games. It's pretty simple. That said, it was a little disturbing to basically have their press conference be only like 40 minutes. When you take out all the bullshit of them moving everyone into another studio, just that format overall was just garbage. I hope they don't do that again. We had an entire E3 where that was the E3, was everyone moving from building to building to go see press conferences, and it was horrible and terrible, and everyone hated it. So hopefully they don't do that again. Even though the focus was exclusively on all of the first-party stuff that they were getting, all the exclusive stuff they were getting, I kind of did want to see some of the third-party stuff. But I get the feeling that everyone was just... We probably got all of that out in the Microsoft press conference, I guess. I think the other surprise was it was just very different for a PlayStation press conference. I'm used to them spending like a half an hour hyping their hardware, sales data, and kind of showing what hardware-wise is in the loop. And that thought became more relevant when more relevant to me after the Bethesda press conference, where they showed they were talking about how Starfield is being developed for the next generation console. And while Microsoft said that, hey, we're developing a new console, and that was the extent of it, Sony really didn't. I'm really confused about this next console generation. I was kind of in my mind that we weren't going to have one, and that the Xbox Pro and the PS Pro, whatever we're calling these things, Xbox One X, yeah, that joke of a name, and the PS4 Pro, that eventually that they were going to become the standards, and you are eventually going to need them to play the next generation of games. But it's starting to feel like we're actually getting new consoles straight up. But yeah, that's where we stand on that. So overall, I'm kind of in this love-hate relationship with Sony's presser. Their dysfunctional organization combined with their very high-quality first-party titles. I guess I can just say they were definitely better than EA. I guess we set the bar low there. Probably better than Microsoft because their games are actually coming out for their system. Probably not better than Ubisoft. Ubisoft had a killer conference overall. But yeah, I think that about does it for the PC Gaming Show and Sony. So I'll do Nintendo starts in about a half hour. So I'm going to watch that and do my talk probably with my bro James tonight during when I normally play Splatoon. And we'll talk about all the awesome stuff that I know Nintendo has to show and I'm just drooling over. Alright guys, I'll see you all around. Peace.